Good morning, shareholders, and welcome to the Askari webinar series. The purpose of today's presentation is to give you an update with respect to the exploration activities at our AS2 Lithium project located in Namibia, as well as provide a background and strategic overview with respect to our uranium asset expansion into southern Tanzania. We've been very active as a company at the AS2 Lithium project with our trenching campaign, which started in December last year. Many shareholders will be familiar with the announcement that we put out to the market regarding the OP pegmatite target, which was mapped now in excess of 2 kilometres with an average thickness of between 12 and 15 metres. Investors would also understand the significant swelling of the OP target in the southwest of that pegmatite, where it has a strike length of 350 metres and a thickness of up to 27 metres wide. It's a significant achievement for the company given the primary challenge with hard rock lithium exploration, and particularly in a new jurisdiction, is finding and identifying those pegmatites which are both mineralised and scalable and demonstrate potential for resource delineation and definition. The company has also been very active at 3 of the other targets at the northern licence of 7345, one of those being the K9 pegmatite target, which again is a very important target for the company given its geological strike extent and its neurology to the B1 and C1 spodumene hill discovery, which is on the adjoining Andrada mining licence. K9 for us looks to be very spodumene dominant and coarse grain at that. It's also been mapped for in excess of 1.8 kilometres and has an average thickness of approximately 10 metres on surface. Where the company is currently focused is on these low-cost, high-impact exploration campaigns. And so what that means for us is obviously being able to trench and channel sample these pegmatite targets that we've identified through a combination of the initial scout drilling campaigns that were completed last year, as well as soil geochemical campaign overlaid with the hyperspectral and geophysical programs, together with the rock sample that were collected last year also. It's an important achievement for the company, quite a significant milestone for us, because it takes us back to that systematic and very methodical exploration approach, not too dissimilar to what we've seen with our neighbours at Andrada. What it also means is that we're able to bring those targets up to a stage where we develop high confidence and very robust drill targets as well. The importance for us is that then when we are ready to mobilise the drill rigs into the field towards the second half of this year, it means that the company is going to be on a very confident pathway to building out that initial resource and achieving that objective by the end of the year. The company is also about to start its phase 1 trenching campaign at 8535, the licence in the south. Initially, that campaign will focus on 3 targets, one of those being Kestrel, which is a very significant pegmatite that's been mapped along with extensive historic pits for more than 3 kilometres, and in areas is up to 100 metres wide. There's a number of high-grade rock samples that the company has also collected from Kestrel, which has been the foundation for us to actually design the trenching program, and which we're due to kick off in the coming 2 weeks. Importantly, there's 2 other targets on 8535 which have also been extensively mapped and have been identified through the rock sampling campaigns that were done early this year as well as late last year. Much the same as our 7345 trenching campaign, the work on 8535 is expected to identify, again, high confidence and very robust drill targets. Following the phase 1 campaign at 8535, the company plans to mobilise the excavator back up to 7345, where there is a further 4 targets which will form part of the phase 2 trenching program there as well. The idea for the company is really building a strong foundation towards getting ourselves prepared for resource definition drilling to take place in the second half of this year. 3D geological models are being built on the basis of the mapping work that's been completed, particularly on those targets at 7345. That information, those models get updated based on the assay information that becomes available, and drill programs are finalised. Those design basis is finalised, targeting those areas where we're seeing elevated spikes in lithium mineralisation from the channel sampling campaigns that are completed. It means for the company that we're going to have a very extensive flow of information and a lot of value added catalysts coming into Askari over the next 6 months. Whilst we navigate a difficult market environment, not only from a financial perspective, but also from a lithium perspective, it also sets the company up to really leverage its position on what can be argued to be very attractive tier 1 assets, where we are proximate to an existing operation in Namibia on that Cape Cross Oist Belt, but where we've also got access to ready infrastructure and access to the deepwater port of Walvis Bay. Where it becomes important for Askari as well is it enables us to work very closely with Huayou Cobalt as a downstream strategic partner and investor in the company already. Huayou Cobalt themselves have been very supportive of the trenching work that the company's been undertaking since December, and in the most recent site visit where they inspected the OP pegmatite, they were very excited by what they saw in the pegmatites, as well as where they went to visit the K9 target as well. So importantly for the company, as we start to move towards the commencement of drilling in the coming months, we're going to have a strong steady flow of news and assay results coming in from the trenching campaigns across the various targets. We're also due to start a soil geochemical program. The targets for the soil geochemical program will be looking at areas where there are along geological strike of outcropping and subcropping pegmatite that we've already identified through the various trenching programs at 7345 and for which we're about to commence at 8535. Again, the idea behind the soil geochemical programs is to identify further blind pegmatite discoveries, such as those found at OP, and trench those targets as well, and continue to add to that database of robust, high-confidence drill targets. The program will also extend and take EPL 7626 into consideration, where we believe that the company's got some very significant potential, again, for further blind targets to be identified. What this means is that given the company's extensive team in Africa and where we've built a strong operational presence, we're very well positioned to leverage our success into these exploration campaigns, and we're also able to mobilise our team in a very quick fashion, able to get assay information in a shorter time frame as well, with the use of the laboratory facilities and the tools that we've built in country over the recent weeks. The company is making some very important strides and moving forward with respect to its lithium exploration in Namibia, and we certainly view the OIS project as being a tremendous asset that we can add value to in the short term before we start the resource definition drill campaigns, as I said, in the second half of this year. Shareholders would have also seen the recent announcement from the company in respect of the Matemanga Uranium Project in southern Tanzania. Now, similar to the view that we take in Namibia, we also believe that southern Tanzania and this region around Matemanga has been heavily underexplored and really left from the perspective of more modern exploration from a uranium perspective. Reasons for that is, as we know, is surrounding the slip in the uranium prices through the period of 2011 and up until the last 12 months. What it means for Askari is that because we're working with our local Tanzanian partners, we're partnering with the government, we're not working with third-party vendors, so we're able to, again, leverage off of those relationships and prioritise our competitive advantage into this jurisdiction. Now, whilst Matemanga and uranium in particular is a new investment for Askari, it's not new to our operational team. Our operational team with Bonnie, with Cliff, with Shane, with Courtenay, they've got extensive lithium experience as well as uranium experience. So we're able to use our own operational potential and the own operational team to focus on kicking off exploration campaigns in Tanzania without having to displace or disrupt what we were doing in OIS on the lithium campaigns. The other strategic advantage for us, and having Cliff in the team has been very influential, has been very important. Now, Cliff's been extensively reviewing these areas and has been able to obtain the Uranex and Western Metals historical exploration data for these project areas. Cliff's also got a long and extensive history with our local Tanzanian partners, and we've understood through that relationship that the company is able to not only solidify its position in the uranium space in southern Tanzania, but is also able to grow its position and increase its portfolio and footprint. We are focused on areas in southern Tanzania given its close proximity to the Nyota deposit, which is owned by Uranium One, which was the subject of a major takeover with Mandatory Resources in 2011. We view our opportunity and our potential of the uranium investment to be quite substantial for Askari and its shareholders. As I've indicated at the beginning, we're not focused on areas that we have to rebuild a team, or we're not looking in jurisdictions where we're not otherwise familiar with. We took the view that Matemanga made a very sensible acquisition for the company, given a strong radiometric anomaly that is evident on the ground. It's also been the subject of historical exploration pits, but those pits were never sampled and assays were never sent to the laboratory. So you've got a certain environment where a lot of work has been done in the past, but nothing was ever followed up, and that work took place in 2006. The last piece of exploration that took place at Matemanga was in 2012, where SRK was commissioned on behalf of Uranex to inspect various different prospects, not just at Matemanga, but also at Matavi North and Matavi South, which are directly to the west of Matemanga. The work that SRK delineated and what they recommended through their exploration campaign is that they identified what they call preferential sand flow directions, which is indicative of the paleochannel drainage systems of those Karoo sediments. Essentially what that means for the company is that we're in the right geological setting, targeting those roll front style tabular deposits. Those deposits, as we've seen at Nyota, they are large, they're scalable, they're easily mined, they don't suffer from recovery and metallurgical difficulties, and they're also very significant in terms of the potential from a global basis as well. We view Matemanga as being the opportunity for Askari, not just, as I said, to create an initial footprint into the uranium space, expanding our reach and our mandate from a clean energy focus, but it also enables us to utilise and leverage off of our relationships and to grow that portfolio to become a very strategic holder of projects in southern Tanzania, which is arguably a very strong emerging Tier 1 uranium province. It's also important to note that Tanzania as a country has also become far more politically stable and a much more pro-mining and investor-friendly jurisdiction. The current president of Tanzania has been very forthcoming with respect to her decarbonisation targets for the country, but also underlining the importance of mining to the overall GDP of Tanzania. That means that now mining, as well as nuclear fuels, to reach those decarbonisation targets, as well as the importance on critical metals, means that a positive and very strong fostered environment for foreign investment has become very prevalent in the country. So we're very comfortable operating in Tanzania. We're very comfortable with our operational team, being able to split between Namibia at OIS on the lithium side and being able to not only grow our footprint in southern Tanzania, but importantly, get boots on the ground as we start to get those licenses granted to us and as we start to build that portfolio and that presence in the region as well. Finally, I'd like to just give shareholders an update with respect to what's happening with our Australian portfolio of assets as well. As you know, it's been a high priority for the company to understand what our potential is for spinning those assets out into a separate vehicle and enable Askari then to focus its strategic assets in lithium and uranium. The idea with a spin out is obviously to enable those assets also to be separately funded and have a separate team run and explore those projects. A lot of the focus and attention of the company at the moment has been making sure that those assets are in a granted state. So in particular, the Yari project has been a high priority for the company. We've been able to negotiate various different access and heritage agreements with key stakeholders, and that's meant that the company's been able to successfully see the granting of 3 licenses, which we consider to be our core licenses. There are a further 3 licenses which are due for grant in the coming weeks as well, and a final license which should be due for grant towards the end of April. That means that Yari will emerge as a completely permitted license. Now, Yari holds for us a lot of prospect and potential, given the work that we did and the targeted areas that we've identified through the anomalous results that we collected not just with rock samples, but also with a soil campaign as well. Those project areas will be followed up, and we're also going to evaluate from a timing perspective when it is that the company can then push the button and bring shareholders into the loop from an information perspective on what the spin-out looks like as well. We are currently working with the ASX with respect to the structure of that spin-out and the timing of such. Once we've got some clarity from the stock exchange regarding that, then the company will be able to message that to the market as well. We've also seen a lot of activity in the second half of last year on those assets and identified a lot of gold mineralisation of a high-grade nature at Murners Hill, as well as rare earths potential at the Barrow Creek project. The company is also awaiting assay results from its Red Peak project, which is also rare earths in the Gascoyne. Once those results are received, we'll also be able to announce those to our shareholders. The gold environment, of course, is holding a very strong part of investors' heart at the moment. We believe that positions us well for the maiden resource declaration at our Burracoppin project in the Wheat Belt. That currently is being peer reviewed. Once that process is completed, the announcement of Burracoppin, not just of the resource, but also the exploration target, will be announced to our shareholders as well. Springdale has also been the recent site inspection for the company, again identifying some very high-grade gold results, which I think is very important and demonstrates the future potential of that project and really warrants some further exploration to be undertaken. Undertaking exploration at all of those Australian assets remains a key focal point for the company, but at this point in time, it's becoming more obvious that in order to sufficiently explore those projects, they need to be in-housed with a separate vehicle. That's something that we'll obviously look to achieve during the course of this year, and shareholders, as I mentioned before, will be given regular updates on the structure, as well as the timing, and as well as how they can benefit and participate in respect of the spin-out as well. So that concludes the formal webinar presentation for this morning. We're now going to open it up to Q&A, and I look forward to the participants putting their questions forward. Thank you.